like to welcome everybody. Appreciate everybody being here. We're going to call for the adoption of the meeting agenda. Was mailed out and posted.
So moved. Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Approval of the previous meeting minutes. They were emailed out to the authority members.
I had nothing to add.
Is that a motion?
Motion. Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, public input. Before we get started on public input, we've got a good crowd here tonight. Just want to say this, that the authority, we have always wanted to be very transparent, wanted to seek input, wanted to seek opinions, and we want to continue to do that. We also want to get out of here at a good hour, okay? So that being said, we are going to limit public input to 20 minutes tonight. So I want to get an idea of how many wants to speak tonight, and then we'll divide up time and use that as our guideline, okay? You want to be able to hear everybody, so who all wants to speak tonight? Two. All right, shouldn't be a time issue then, if we've got two that wants to speak. Who wants to go first?
I'll get mine out of the way. My name is Lou Furlong, and my son Colin and I have two hangars and a storage area in the E building, or E wing as you call it. I've got a couple notes and I'll just kind of go over them. I wanted to inquire as to the status of the asphalt completion at the end of hangars rows E and F. A few weeks back, there was an email sent, my son sent an email to Stacy with several pictures of the portion of the taxiway adjacent to hangars E05 and storage unit E01. The area that I'm referring to make the storage unit completely inaccessible. You couldn't back anything into it. The reason is because they didn't complete the paving. There was apparently, as I understand it, there was a piece of heavy equipment there when the pavers came, and so they kind of paved up to it and stopped. And it wasn't moved till after the fact. I was told by the airport manager that would be paved. He had some other follow-up paving to do, and that's been a couple months now. So the problem is that I can barely get my airplane out and make the turn with the tail wheel, or I'm in the dirt and grass and mud. But the storage unit, everybody has at least a 40 to 50 foot straight run in there if you wanted to back something in to offload some equipment for your airplane or whatever. I can't do that. Mine is probably 10 or 12 feet wide because they didn't complete that. It's a triangle, but if Stacy has the pictures. And the other thing was, I would like to know if you have an expected timeline on the water spigot access points for the new hangars. There's no water there at all. We have to go way over to the end of building A. And the other, and one last thing, has to do with the striping project. They came in and striped the center of those hangar rows and made radius turns, center lines into the hangars. Along with those pictures that we sent to Stacy, you can see that they, if I were to follow the line into my hangar at the end, and that might be due to the fact that they didn't finish the paving, if I were to follow that, I would hit my wingtip. And so I know better that somebody might not, and there's going to be a problem because there's no clearance. And I would hope that would be rectified when they do the paving. So those are the two big issues, plus the water spigot. So we have no water there. We were told there would be water, and I would have expected water. The only other thing is, and I don't know if anybody's brought this up before, but I'm a little concerned about the security, or the lack of security fencing out around the airport. Up here a month or two ago, we had a homeless family that was actually living in their cars in the parking lot. And I'm a little concerned about that without the security. I mean, homeless people, my heart goes out to them, but they could break into a hangar and steal something and then sell it for food, or whatever. But I'm concerned about that. But the big things for me are having full access for the hangar that I pay for, and I pay for the storage unit, and yet I can't get into it. I can walk into it, but I can't back anything in if I had to. So at the point of being redundant, I guess that's it.
And I can speak to those of that. So for each of those hangars, that one in particular, in the original design, it would have been easier to stop that one less unit in there. So we added the extra unit, but it wasn't a piece of equipment or anything we were paving. The slope coming off the road, that was all changed, done, and that ditch corrected after the project. It didn't look like that when the paving was done. That was all the paving that was going to be able to get in there. In moving that back, like Randy told you, we will come back and square that out and give you that additional paving. That when we're out there paving, let's say this, I'll talk about these projects a little bit. There's a ramp expansion project that will come back about 70 feet. That has paving in it. And then there's paving that we'll be doing for a parking lot for the new terminal lot. Either one of those is going to happen within about 90 days. They're waiting on some materials, pipe and inlets and things like that before we start. When that's done, we'll come back, and now that ditch, that slope's cut back, we can square that off, and it will be remarked.
So I've got another 3 months, which will put it at 6 or 7 months into my lease that I cannot use the storage facility that I pay for every month. And I'm not happy with that. I think I would implore you to try and get that paving done before 90 days. I know it's convenient to do it all at once, but it wasn't done. It wasn't done when it should have been done.
The additional that unit was added. We know that there's not going to be that paving can't get in there, so it's not held up because it was a piece of equipment or something.
Well, no, I saw the piece of equipment actually, but I didn't see it the day that.
Yeah, that wasn't.
It was before that, most likely. I don't know that it was there. You're right. I don't know that it was there when they did the
So the
paving.
intent is to come back.
I just gave it that as a reason why they didn't pave it.
So I'd say, think of it this way, that additional unit in there, almost each of those 3 T hangers through there, there's an extra unit on there that doesn't really fit with what that site is. So getting all that drainage to work and having come back and redo that slope after that's cut out, and there was rock in there, for example.
Okay.
So the intent was always that that's gonna come back.
Okay.
And then that probably could have been communicated to you up front about that particular unit. For coming back and paving, to mobilize and have them come out and pave, to do that one little area is very cost prohibitive. Because we have those other paving things, and I'd say maybe you can talk to Randy with authority about some cost consideration or something. That's for them to decide, but that's about what we're looking for on that window to come back. And then the marking will be done at that time.
And the remark, they're going to remark everything in. Okay, good. Yeah, Randy did say, to Randy's credit, he did tell me that they would pave it. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to get the ball rolling here. That's all I had.
Yeah, oh, and that water, I'll mention about the water too, is that's about 60 days, I think we'll have that into.
Oh.
For where the water line's going, that sloping in and stabilized for erosion control, we have had that in first, and then they're gonna come back.
Do you know where will there be multiple ones, one for each row?
Kind of in between each row, yeah. So it'll run along, like between the boxes and tees, there will be one between each.
And down each taxi row, or in between the hangar rows.
There won't be like pavement cut in down in front of each.
No,
No, just along the.
No, not like Calhoun did, no.
Yeah, it's exact, right. It will not be like that.
That would spoil you if you had to walk 3 feet to turn the water on.
So that's about the timing on that. And the fencing is this is just what it is. For general aviation airports, oddly enough, FAA doesn't score in the funding criteria going that they think of fencing as passive for general aviation airports, so it's not high priority. We do have it in the 5-year capital improvement plan to ultimately get, and we've got some additional money that's coming out of the new bipartisan infrastructure law and things like that. So what's in there, and it's planned, we'll prioritize, this is an FA term, terminal area, kind of the area where all the hangars are first, and then ultimately make the entire loop around. There's some justification that we have a lot of wildlife fencing, which is different height, and that scores differently. So working kind of all that to get in. So that fencing will come. The prioritization in the hangar area, now that those are done and that access point into that side, that'll be something you'll see, but it won't be, it's nothing to get any help funding wise for.
They blocked off that access point. So now, where I go in, now we have to go out on an active taxiway.
Or go all the way around.
Or go all the way around, yeah.
Park on the grass.
What is the reason that was
across from your
closed
hangar.
off, do you know?
Yeah, we almost had 2 airplanes hit. Somebody's coming through that detour, and people were taxiing along the A hangar, coming from the taxiway, and there was almost an impact twice, and that's why we
Well,
stopped.
I'm talking about
It was
the
a
road-
temporary detour.
No, I'm talking about the roadway where the parking lot is.
Yeah,
So was a car almost hit somebody?
almost hit an airplane.
Oh, okay, so it's, what are we gonna
That was
do?
a temporary detour anyway.
Okay,
So in the future, when we get our fencing up, you will drive all the way around the west taxiway and park in the parking lot by the FBO.
by the FBO,
Yes.
So-
You can't park between E, F, G, and H.
correct.
Because other aircraft can't get in and out.
But
But you do have parking along between A, B, C, and D and the E hangar.
correct,
There's public parking right there.
right,
And your
Okay.
hangar's around the end of F, so, I mean, E, so.
correct,
It's
Okay.
closest, you're closer than anybody.
good. Thank you for that.
All right, and I don't think the authority has any problem giving some rent concession on your storage unit that you can't use right now. And we'll let Stacy and Randy circle back to you on that.
Appreciate the consideration.
Okay. Other public input?
Well, first of all, I think it's a total misuse and abuse of your parliamentary procedure to limit public input at a public meeting that happens 4 times a year to 20 minutes. So I'm going to keep it brief. Regarding the fencing, whether you're a level 2 or level 3 airport, GDOT's Georgia Executive Summary requires full fencing at the airport. That's their system objective. And back on the 10th of March 2021, we had a meeting that was 52 minutes and 39 seconds long. At 4 minutes and 54 seconds, Phil states but once we have 100 airplanes, we'll be a level 3 airport. So I know we're at least a level 2 at this point, and still, full fencing. So be that as it may, if we're talking about security, whether you consider that a priority or not, it's certainly a larger priority than having a 5,000 square foot terminal building, because they only require 2,500 square feet there. I've got notes here from the last meeting, and I'd just like to ask if you've, this is directly to Don. Don, you took Dennis Anderson's name regarding his hangar deposit, and you said you would personally look into it. What happened there?
We have discussed it, and we've left that taken that back to Dennis to get back with us.
Okay, I had not heard from him, so I wanted to know.
That's between-
Randy, where's the list?
It's hanging in the terminal building.
No, not that list, the real list. The list of people with deposits for hangars.
That is the list.
Randy, do not feel like you need to.
No, actually, Randy doesn't have to answer that because Randy's not in charge of the airport
You can address
anymore.
the authority, but.
Okay,
we-
well,
we'll ask Randy.
I've got a page of notes where we go back and forth, where Randy had the list. Randy says that on March 10th, he has a list, this is at 3724. Randy says he has a list with 80 paid deposit, 50 will remain after the 26 units are built out. Next year, he will begin refunding deposit for everyone who's left.
Okay, the list has been published. Next.
It's kind
No,
of
the
funny
list
that
has not
you-
been published.
It's kind of funny you talk about that list.
No, I read the
I
paper.
seen the
It's
list
not.
a
I've got a
month
copy of
ago,
it.
and
It's
was
there.
that
It's
thick.
not the list of
And now
people
the list
who
is only
have
10
deposits, not
Yes.
currently, the 50 that are left. We have 8, we had
I'm not here
20.
to discuss the list has been published, it's transparent at this point. If there's something else you would like to discuss in the public input, we'll move on.
Okay, no, there is something else to discuss then. There's something else to discuss, is the funding for the terminal building. I have got a range of different notes going all the way back to to Phil's comment, and what he stated at the March meeting was, let's see, Phil states, 82 based aircraft, 26 based, okay, we've got that. Give me a sec here. Okay, here, this goes back to March 10th of 21. That around June 1st, we'll have some clarity on the budget that will be available. With $500,000 in funding specifically for the terminal, we can build 5,000 square feet complete. If we don't get that amount, we can build 3,000 square feet and expand it in the future. He showed a number of pictures of inside terminals, which were very, very nice. Outsides were not quite as impressive. And somehow between then and now, we have a 2.3 million. So a lot more money to work with. We don't have 5,000 square feet, but we're paying 500 a square foot. What happened, guys? How did we get from 500,000 for 5,000 square feet to close to 2.5 million for 5,000 square feet?
I know this, the process is ran that we've gotten our grants, we've put it out to bid, and we've gotten those bids.
Wrong. Here's what's happened. Here's what's happened because I have the statement from the Georgia Department of Transportation. This is really what the financing we're dealing with. And if we look at the total cost on the terminal building, total cost is $2.3178,000. 2,231,786. I'm going to talk fast, do I have to? The state is providing $750,000. The local funding is, show of hands, $1,481,786. This came out because the newspaper happened to slip up and print that there was going to be a reimbursement over time. So I discussed this with the Georgia Department of Transportation, and they said, yes, we have typically been getting $150,000 a year in an annual entitlement. But that money is not guaranteed. That money is not guaranteed. Don't even talk about the 159. You hadn't applied for that yet. So here's the question. All this is going to come from the bond to be paid from airport revenues. But the bond that you announced was passed in December of 2020 was for the hangars. So we have to pay off the hangars, I'm assuming, and in talking to Randy, we have some years to go on that. So now have we increased the size of the bond? Because the revenues have not increased. We only have so many hangars, we only sell so much fuel. We could be taxing those revenues for the next 30 or 40 years. So what we've done is, we've incurred a debt of $1.4 million, we've called it a bond, and it's going to be paid from airport revenues. Let me tell you what's going to airport revenues mean. You're just going to have to raise the price of gas. You're going to have to raise the rent. Why do we get a $2.3 million terminal? How do we get to there? And why do we need to borrow $1.4 million to make that happen?
Okay, first of all, your numbers are not correct.
My numbers come directly from the Georgia Department of Transportation.
Your numbers are not correct.
My numbers came directly from the Georgia Department of Transportation. You can slice and dice them. You can slice and dice them any way you want.
Do you have any other public input?
Yeah, I got one statement to make, and it involves trust. The public use airport exists to serve the public interests. It may be how people get to and from Pickens County, but it is not why they come to and from Pickens County. Its development and operation should fulfill the wishes of the community, not the ego of a board member who last June himself changed the meeting schedule and has since failed to attend 2 of the last 3 meetings. That no property tax dollars are to be spent on the terminal means that the project does not have adequate community support to warrant the expenditure. Nor is Chris Stanza willing to risk his re-election by financing such a boondoggle with public funds. Thank you, Chris. That the project is funded by state and federal grants does not mean that it is free, any more than your tax refund is free money from the government. This means that Phil, regardless of his engineering chops, really does know how to write a grant. And thank you to Phil, great grant. This is how he makes a living. Now, by building 26 additional hangars to meet an established, pre-existing, cash-deposited demand, and we got 100 airplanes based here, many of them defectors from other airports that simply didn't have hangars or were displaced by heavy iron, does not make us an airport of regional impact. I've sent a circulation of what counts as a level 3 airport, a regional impact airport. Regional impact status is not defined as 100 airplanes. There's no prize. for 100 airplanes. That the terminal is not a white elephant, I've heard that term, white elephant, used many, many times. It's a kind of a shame because it means we're not going to get any tourists looking for albino pachyderms, but I can't tell you, more people come to Sackett's from out of town than are going to come for the terminal. The promised runway NOTAM, the handout circulating, was not filed. There was a NOTAM that was supposed to be put out. It was promised in writing and was supposed to be put out for the cracks in the runway. It was never put out. That no privately funded construction is yet to materialize. That no listing of deposits made on the hangars has been released. That none of our previous contractors even bid on the terminal project means that this airport authority, who formally awarded themselves full operational control in December of 2020, has no business managing an airport. And in conclusion, the fact that none of the inconsistent project funding statements that have been made over the past year match the numbers provided by the Georgia Department of Transportation and the FAA grant statement, it's circulating in the handout. This means to me that this airport is A, not very gifted at public deception, B, does not trust us with the truth, and C, in truth, does not deserve the trust of the public.
We do not have any committee or authority member reports. Treasurer's report. The treasurer's report was mailed out to authority members. Any questions on the treasurer's report? All right. Randy, airport manager's report.
Due to COVID and the overseas conditions, fuel is going up about every 3 days. We're 531 for 100 low lead at this time, and we raised jet fuel this morning because it's gone up. It's over 5 and change to buy 100 low lead and almost 5 to buy jet. So our traffic is starting to pick up because the weather's getting nicer. January we parked 10 jets and sold 10 jets fuel. In February we had 19, and so we're on track this month to match or exceed that. So we're on track. We're selling 4, 5, about 10,000 gallons a month of jet and 100 low lead combined. Air Methods has had 2 helicopters on the pad, so they're at an increase for Jet A this month. We went up on their fuel as well because they basically pay for the lease on the fuel truck so we can fill them up. But other than that, last night, windsock was lit up like a harvest moon. It is new and big and improved, and you can see it from miles away. It's the first time in 15 years that you can see that windsock at night.
For $68,000.
They had to run over 1,000 feet of line from the blockhouse power station under the taxiway, under the runway, all the way up the side of the runway, over 1,000 feet, and to the the windsock, and it's looking beautiful. It's a safety of flight issue. It's easier for people to see. We had our AWAS repaired this week, so we're back up and running 100% on our AWAS. Thank God we had spare parts when we bought the AWAS system.
It wasn't running today.
12 years ago. Yeah, they fixed it about 12:30.
Yeah, I took a flight this afternoon and it started.
Oh,
It's
good.
up and running. And the packet lights were fixed thanks to Trinity. Yeah.
Mr. Randy, do you happen to have the avgas numbers separately? How many gallons for January?
Yeah, January we sold 3,268 gallons of 100 low lead. February we sold 4,017 gallons.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Randy.
Yes, sir.
Airport engineers report. Phil?
The wind cone has been installed yesterday. The apron expansion schedule, we should get some information from C.W. Matthews this week. The terminal site work, the land clearing permit is in place. We can't have both Bartow and C.W. working at the same time because it's in a confined area. C.W. Matthews' schedule will define what we do with the Bartow site work. Drexel and marking, as soon as we get a schedule from them, then we will have the ability to move forward. We will then circulate with Randy with all the tenants because that involves about 1 week of closure. When that is closed and noted, will go out at that time when the money is closed, not prior to that. The Beacon project, we don't have a schedule on that, but that is to take that thing down, repaint it to meet the FAA standard. Put it back up, obviously. And then the new AWAS, the AWAS is done under a state contract, so that's kind of on their schedule, but we have a new AWAS that's coming. So and that is what we have.
And those are gonna be relocated.
Moved down to the front.
I'm sorry to ask you, Phil, I missed it. Did I hear you say that when we have to do closings, we won't have a lot of notice, but basically the notice goes up?
What will happen is, we will, from a material standpoint and availability standpoint, the contractor lets us know when they can go. We will not go by that schedule. We will then take that availability, we'll share with Randy, he'll circulate it, and then we'll work out what's the most opportune time for us. But it does involve cleaning, the marking, crack sealing, routing it all, so there's about a week of impact that we're gonna have.
Totally understood, but we'll get some heads up on no doubt.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Commissioner remarks.
No, thank y'all for everything you do.
All right, thank you. Old business terminal update. We have, of course, last meeting, we approved what was the draft of the terminal building. Of course, was included in all 5 of those grants. We've gotten the final of that with the change in the roof design, and we just asked for approval of that tonight.
So moved. Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Thank you. Any new business?
I have a couple of them. The hanger lines have been addressed. I was gonna talk to you about that, and I know, is the contractor gonna come out and redo that?
And the ones into the boxes, I believe.
Yes.
And the one on the end after the pavement's done.
Perfect. Okay. Because I agree, they're not.
Those don't want to.
The one to the state guys over there on the box hanger.
Oh,
Yeah, all 3 boxes.
Gentlemen,
Also-
lines concerns.
May I make a comment about the lines? I've never seen turn-in lines to the center of a hangar before. You're assuming a lot of liability when you do that personally. And even, not just in mine because it's wrong. The line down the middle is the most anybody could ever hope for. And that's really what I've seen on just about every airport I've been in the last 55, 60 years.
I know a lot of people, they can put that white stripe on their arm.
Right, yeah, people will, depend on where they want to put it, but I'm just saying, I personally don't think that those turn-in lines are necessary.
There's I don't know if anybody knows about this, but I don't know if you even know about this, Randy, that south gate from the,
Yes, I do.
that's by
We're
340.
working on replacing it. Yeah.
Okay. Because there's been some cars that have been driving up in there. Just want to make sure that that gets fixed, because I know it got damaged, and I know it's up there.
So we're getting it fixed.
The catwalk, the metal catwalk, I know we had
Bid came in today for
$13,000.
$11,000. We're seeking 2 other welders and construction people to give us new
You're gonna
bids.
get 2, how many bids are you gonna
We're trying to get at least 3 to 5, and we're looking at, we got about $5,000 budget, so it's either they're gonna build it, or I'm gonna take welding at
How
Tech
much do you
School and
have?
build it myself.
get? How much money do you have?
About 5,000. We had
40 years to get it.
9 of the 13,000, that was the money to do the tanks, and it was already approved for catwalk, but the catwalk budget, the estimates are coming in outrageous, so we're gonna,
So we use some of the 13 for something else?
for the tanks, to be painted, corrosion control, and repainted.
Okay.
So it was just under 9,000, so we got from
You'll never get
13
it, you'll
left.
never get it for that.
Randy, were you just gonna have the catwalk built to set on the
All I need
tanks
is-
and not be welded to the tanks? or how-
Yeah, it's gonna be independent.
It is.
There's quick release pins and piping, and it fits, so they don't have to do any welding in place.
I gotta get some.
Or I'm gonna go buy Dexion at Home Depot and build it
Before it
myself.
falls off?
I've got a local welder that we can send over there that's got a mobile unit that can get you a quote with no problem. It's done a lot of work with the county.
Thank you.
So we got about 4,000 earmarked for that?
About
4 or 5?
4,000 minimum. Plus, we got a maintenance budget, we can add a little to it if it stays reasonable, but $11,000 is outrageous.
Is there a plan to add a display to the fuel tank so we can see from our airplanes?
That's a $4,000 display, and you can't see it if the sun's light out.
I think.
It's possible. And if we upgrade Fuel Master, they get a new card reader in, they're gonna try to give us a quote for the 1-foot display, but in bright sunlight, you can't see I've got binoculars in the office. Just-
Yeah, no, I've
When
seen
I
some
put
of
up-
the reports,
When
which
I
use
put
like
up a twin, I have to use binoculars.
a
to see
neon
the
yellow,
county.
which is very
Yeah,
high contrast, and you can't see that in the daylight, in the sunlight.
that works. Yeah, I'll explore any option we can find.
How about like?
I had a question for Randy, real quick, if I may.
Let me get finished real quick.
It's quick.
So the other thing is, I know we talked about this last year. Is there any way we can get some weed killer so we can kill
Yes.
weeds through the summer this year?
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
We were buying it at the same place the highway and road department was getting theirs.
Okay.
It's $600 a barrel, and we have to hook it up to the big
Sprayer.
sprayer, or the PTO sprayer. But we're getting that ordered through Hinton Milling, I think is where they're getting theirs, so,
Perfect.
yes.
And Chris, the southwest corner issue that we had with the,
Yeah.
is that all done?
All but a fence repair. There's a small fence repair that's the only thing still remaining. I gave Don the paperwork on it just the other day, so that way we've got all that in, but it's all cleared and re-sowed and planted.
We have not had any deer on the end of 3-4 since then.
I got a question about what Wendell just brought up. Is it true that the board hired a non-insured?
No, it's not.
You didn't, I'm not asking you, Randy. I'm
Uh-huh.
asking the board.
They did
You are
not.
the board.
We're
Please
through
stop me.
with public input. Is there anything else?
You know, it is a public,
This
it
is public.
a public
Y'all are just
meeting.
shot Rodney. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, this is what I think. I think you, Bogus, needs to be dismissed from this board meeting.
Jesus, guys.
You need to be,
All in favor?
how do you get on the board and how do you remove people from the board? That's what everybody here wants to know.
Chris, they're gonna take you down, buddy.
I'm telling you, Chris.
I'd like to see you get a
We
second
need to
term.
know because the
They're-
board
they're actually
authorized a
working way harder than you
non-insured
give them
guy to
credit
tear
for,
out
so-
all
They're not
that
I think your
stuff.
numbers are wrong.
They're
I've
not
got the
reading.
emails from GDOT.
Did y'all pay $35,000 to redo everything at the airport that they authorized a non-insured guy to do?
We did not.
So who cleaned it up?
We did, but we didn't pay
It-
$35,000.
So the county had their own employees clean it up.
We did.
That cost money.
We
That
got-
costs money.
We did. And we're handling that and working with the board to address that.
So how, they won't answer the question, how does other people get on the board and get them removed from the board?
They're appointed from the Board of Commissioners whenever there's a vacancy that opens, so.
How do you get them off the board?
That require the Board of Commissioners to remove them for cause. So, right now, there's not a cause to.
There's no cause for public meetings. I mean, what they just did, they could do in closed session.